When it comes to pendant making, I would consider your design starts with the stone. It really does. You're going to find this as well, as the more and more as you get more experience as a wire wrapper, and you're going to end up buying stones that suit you and suit the way you work as well. I do as well. So I have a lot of stones that are very similar in size. Certain kinds of cabochons, I like my cut stones. I don't like working with rough stones. But what I'm trying to say is that when it comes to making pendants, the stone will often command how you're going to grip it. Now, there's many ways of gripping a stone. I recommend going through lots of different tutorials out there as well, because each one of us wire artists have got our own kind of way of doing things. And I stick to a very traditional way of gripping, what I've shown you so far. But there are other artists out there who do far different things, which I'm about to show you in a second in an example. But what I'm trying to say is that the stone really does determine how you grip it. So as you're starting out as a beginner, I recommend buy lots of stones. Try lots of things. Try rough stones. Try cut cabochons, try really thin cabochons, try cabochons with thick sides, maybe cut crystals. There is so much you can do. So like I say, the stone commands the wrap. So what am I actually talking about? Let me have a quick look down here. We've got some examples here. So let me just show you this. Some of you might recognize this. This is one of my prized possessions. This is a piece by Nicole Hanna. But I think this is a fantastic example of the stone commands the kind of wrap. So if I turn this over, you're going to see the back of it here, but you can see down the side here how thin that cabochon is. It's an odd shape and it's thin, so it suits this kind of style of capturing a stone compared to, let's say, a piece of mine here. Now this is a bit of dinosaur bone again. This is quite a large cabochon with thick straight sides, you can see down the side. So I decided to use a full wrap around the outside and prongs to grip it. It just suited because of the nature of the stone. Then you got something like this, a bit of fossilized wood. Now you might recognize this as well. So something like this, you don't want to do much anything like this. One, you're going to damage the stone, and two, it's such a nice piece. You just want something very simple to go around the outside. So this is obviously why I chose this to show you the silk wrap, one of my earlier videos. But you can see how the stone commands the wrap. Here's another one as well. Now, you could do a lot more with this bit of Moldavite. I know you can. But again, it still suits this kind of simple idea because it's misshapen. It'd be tricky to capture, say, in that style. So you're not going to do that style with something like this as well. So here's another one as well. So here's a great example of using a bead. So I used a bead on this one, very similar to the method Nicole, because I did make this after I met Nicole, and this is kind of my version of her work. Very similar idea, but using a bead. You can see what I've done here, and as the wire goes down through the bead to hold it in, and then I do all the twisted stuff around the front to finish it off. I'm going to bring this one out as a tutorial, most definitely. I think this might have to be the next pendant tutorial. There you go. That's what I mean by the stone commands the wrap. So this is where it comes, and move on to my next subject, which will be tutorials. So just do lots of them. Go round, find everybody's tutorials out there. And one thing I would suggest when it comes to tutorials, and I really do mean this, is that look past the design. Don't get the tutorial because of the design. Try and look at the skills within the tutorial, because they're more important than the design. Because you might find yourself skimming past designs, some of my simple ones, somebody else's really simple ones, and what you're really doing is you're actually that's detrimental to your learning, really, because really what's in the design is what's important. It's the techniques that are within them and how they use those techniques. Then you can take that and bring that into your own work later on down the line. Because I understand some people out there, design is a really tough thing to do. It really is. And some people can design really easily. Some people find it really hard. I kind of sit there in the middle sometimes I find it hard sometimes. So I kind of let design flow. I look at shapes. I look at influences. My biggest influences out there has to be music. It's been one of the big ones. Movies help influence my work as well, and books as well. So basically I just look around really to see what's going on, and then I use those within my work as well. But yeah, when it comes to tutorials, and it's like the beginning, just go do loads. Do as many as you can find. And like I say, ignore the design. Really just go it. If you think that design's really boring, do it. Because I can bet you there's something within that tutorial that then you can bring across to your work. Or you'll find a way of capturing a stone or or doing something that you didn't know that then you can apply to some stones in your box that you've been looking at going, I'm not too sure how I'm going to grip that stone and what I'm going to grip with. But yeah, carry on with the tutorials. Really do ignore those designs and just think about the skills within them, because then that will just open up that world of capturing the stone. One design feature you need to really consider is when you're making is how big your bail is, how wide it is, how are you going to approach it? Are you someone who's going to supply a chain with your pendant, or are you going to have something that could be interchangeable? Now, I make mine really wide. You must have noticed this in my thing. I go for a nice wide bail, normally about 8 mil to a centimetre wide, so they can be interchangeable. Anybody can put anything through it. Now, ironically, I just spoke to my mum today because I'm about to wrap a stone for her, and I'm going to video it as well for Patreon. And she was the first thing she said, right, make sure you saw the chain I had at the wedding, the really big thick chain. I want to make sure that the pendant can sit on that. So there you go. I know I've now got to make it a minimum of a centimetre wide because that's a big thick chain she's got. Huge, great thing. And so that's another thing to consider about when it comes to your design is, what are your pendants? I suppose, what are the purpose of them at the end? How far does your design go? Now, I'm really, like you say with mine, I am really into just making the pendant, and then up to you to what you sell it on. But you could be someone who's got some intricate designs that don't want to make a big fancy bail like what I'm doing, and you just want a little jump ring at the top or something very simple. Then you're looking at fine chains and things like that. And then you were thinking, well, I'm someone who's going to supply the chain with it as well. But yeah, something to really consider whenever you're making is that final stage of your pendant. Does it stay on a chain that you're supplying, or is it there for the customer to decide on what they want to put it on? Once you've got your stone gripped, you've done that. Doesn't how well you've gripped your stone. The rest of it is, I like to call it colouring in. That's one way to approach it. That's what you're looking at doing. You're taking a weave, you're taking a wrap pattern, and they're just decorative. And then you're colouring in, especially on the traditional grip that I've been doing a lot of. That's just, you grip the stone around there, and then I'd use the bell idea for colouring, finish off with the bell, and then we colour in by doing nice and weaves going over the top, or some spirals. So when you're approaching your designs, just think about it like that sometimes. Try to avoid over-engineering everything. Does that make sense? That just basically take it down to a simple fact of like grip stone, create a bell or something, and then colour everything else in as well. So obviously that will change on how you grip the stone as well. So I've got some examples down here. Let me show you down here. Right, going back to this one again. So what do I mean by this was a bead? I gripped it by the wires coming around the outside here, with the wire going down through the middle, and then all the twisted wire, all this is just colouring in. Starting from the bottom there, heading to the top, and vice versa, starting at the top there, heading down to bottom. It becomes design. It doesn't really do anything structural, but like I say, it becomes what I call colouring in. But when you're doing colouring in, when you're doing all this stuff, try not to cover too much of the stone. Now, I think this is just right. Any more it would have been too much. So I think you got to be really careful. Here's an example of something. I probably did this in a workshop a long time ago. And for me, it's covering too much of the stone. Looks great, beautiful, really nice. But it covers everything too much. So my colouring in went a bit too far and I over-coloured. So you've got to think of the balance as well. Even something like this. Yeah, again, I do believe this was probably made in a workshop. But you can see, it works. It's okay. But I feel it's covering too much of the stone up here because it's actually a nice stone. It really is. So let me just get you this one here. Now, I'm not going to be able to get it all on the camera. There we go. So some of you might recognise this. So it started off, I gripped the stone first. This is a frame wrap. I'll show you the back. Oh, and there's the price on it. But you can see it here. So it started with the frame. I gripped that stone, And then everything at the top here was just colouring in. That's all it was. And then just working out how to do that as you go along. Don't ask me to make this again. I've forgotten. But we might go back to something like this soon. But yeah, that's what I mean by colouring in. Because when I turn over the back here, it's not really doing anything important. It's not holding the stone. It's not doing anything like that at all. It's just there for decorative purposes, for the design. So yeah, be careful that you don't cover too much stone. When you're approaching your designs, or like I say, colouring in, as a beginner, I'd seriously consider looking into doing symmetry, having a go at symmetry, because symmetry it can be very simple way of designing, because I'm going to be honest with you, it's a lazy way of designing. You only have to design one side. That's all you need to do. But the discipline is to recreate that side on the other side exactly the same and absolutely perfectly the same, if you can. And when you first start, you're not going to do it. You're going to have mistakes here and there, but it's great for me. That's why I love it. I love that discipline of having to recreate the other side exactly the same and seeing if I can't get it absolutely perfect while I'm going along. You know, it really is. It gives me a sense of well-being when it goes really well. Sometimes it doesn't go really well, and often it does go a little bit wrong as well. So when it comes to my symmetry as well, I really take it to the extremes, to a point where I will count wraps. I will make sure there's the same amount of wraps each side, weaves, those kind of things as well. Occasionally, don't get me wrong, you'll see me not counting wrap, especially when it's just a piece of wrap. But if it's a wrap pattern, I will make sure there's exactly the same amount of wraps each side. You know, I've got to a point where I've taken symmetry silly to where I've wrapped the wire the opposite direction to the other side. Especially if you're doing a coiled coil, because you'll have a screw thread. If you've got two coiled coils coming down the other side, you're going to want to wrap them opposite from each other. So the screw thread, so you get that line coming down each side as well. So there are times where symmetry, you can go super symmetry in wire wrapping, which is kind of what I like to do. I really do. And you know what? It's wrapping the other way, sometimes most people don't notice it. They really did. I remember doing a pendant some time back, and it was back in my early days, and I was one of my early symmetry ones. Oh yeah, I'm going to wrap all the wire the opposite direction, the other side. And I did. And it looked great. I thought it was amazing. I thought I'd post it online, get it on Facebook, and people will notice it. People will see that I've wrapped. No, nobody saw it. Nobody mentioned it. But made me feel really good about myself that I did it as well. And I like telling everybody I did it as well. So you can go super symmetry for no reason at all. But at times you do need to wrap the opposite direction from each other, which is when making coils. But yeah, as a beginner, when it comes to design and you're coming up with your own designs, stick with symmetry for a bit, because it just makes life really easy. It really does. In your early days, when you're coming up with your first designs and stuff like that, don't compare them to other people's work, especially like mine or anybody who's been around for quite some time, because it takes us a long time to get where we are. Not everybody does it very quickly. Everybody takes time. It's a lot of skill wire wrapping, and a lot of hours need to go into it as well. So often when you're coming up with your first designs, don't try and go on like a Facebook group and compare them to other people as well. Just be proud of what you've done and just go with it as well. Your designs will develop and they will move into different directions as well. I need to get a time design line from my Facebook, from my early stuff to now, and you can see the progression of the ideas as they go along as well. But yeah, so don't try and compare with what everybody else is doing as well. Just do your own thing as well. And don't worry if you end up looking like someone else, especially if you've been doing tutorials, especially if you're following my tutorials. Don't let anybody tell you that you've been copying me, because I've given you those designs to do, and I understand that you're going to rework them, and you're going to rework them into your own thing. That's why they're out there. I've done it with stuff. I've done designs from other people as well. example, when I met Nicole Hannah, was very lucky to spend a week with her. I was teaching on the other table, but I did get to sit down and actually work with her and do one of her designs. And then I took the idea or the pathway and developed my own thing from it. So yeah, don't let anybody out there call you out for copying or anything like that. Because I often say this, like there could be two people, one person one side of the world, one person the other side of the world, doing exactly the same thing, but they're not in contact with each other. But sooner or later, they're going to come up with the same idea, especially in wire wrapping. So they're going to come up with the same technique as well. So it's, so don't worry about it if you start looking like other people. I know I look like my peers because they've influenced me. That's where I saw them back in my early days and I went, oh, I really like that. I really like that style. Oh, that's amazing. I don't want to copy your work, but I kind of like the genre you're sitting in. And so I kind of find yourself within that area. And then once you're in that area, you can then start fly on your own and start doing your own thing. And you know what? If my recent designs as well, some of my heavier pieces that I've come up with a lot more soldering, they're starting to go down a road that's not looking like my peers. They're starting to actually develop into something that really is me and my own ideas. So it shows you it takes time. It really does to really develop your own style and your own design. So really don't worry when you start out. If you do look like somebody else, doesn't matter. But don't compare yourself to everybody else as well, because everybody moves at slightly different speeds as well, especially when it comes to all these skills, weaving, wrapping, all of that stuff can be quite heavy for some people and take some time to get used to it and get really neat. I'm going to be really honest with you. Out of everybody I taught over the years, only one student came through my workshop who was just kick ass, and I mean flew. As in there was just talent in that person that I showed them what to do. That was it. I was only here's the pattern. That was it. I was amazed. And Kay, if you're really watching this, start twisting some wire again, will you? You are amazing. You are a really good artist. And I think it's sad that you've stopped doing it. I know the pandemic got to all of us, but yeah, shout out to Kay. Please start twisting some wire again. You are great. Anyhow, like I said, one student out of everybody came through my workshop who could do it. I mean, like that. Everybody else had to work hard. Everybody's worked hard. Some took longer than others. They really did. Hi, Sandra. Love you. But everybody gets there in the end. They really, really do. So like I say, when you're coming up with your designs and that, try not to compare yourself to everybody else, because otherwise you'll get worried that you'll end up going, oh, I'm copying. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're just borrowing from people's tutorials. As usual, I have massive thanks to everybody over at Patreon who helps out with this channel. But I do have very, very special thanks to Yasmin Khan, Wendy Cheverton, Vivian Hussey, Loretta Morgan, Sandra Lane, Ruby, Roxanne Coyne, Nutty Beeder, Nicola Kim, Naomi Smith, Kyle Fry, Joyce, Jill, Jennifer Smith, Jamie Cresdy, Jennifer Harworth, Jennifer Roosh, Elizabeth Polk, Deborah Ensor, Amanda Ryan, Jenny N, Norm Fox, Janine Piper, Sue Corrie, Kyla, and to our newest member, Rick Reed. All your help goes a very long way in making this channel happen. I thank you very much.